17 minutes. That's how long I waited. Evelyn Blake's voice was calm, but her eyes had already scanned the restaurant's entrance 3 times. She stood her navy dress crisp spine straighter than her heels allowed. Bellarose was quiet at this hour save for the clinking of crystal and the soft murmur of money. She placed her napkin down with precision right next to the untouched, sparkling water. The maitre d' approached cautiously. "Will you be dining alone this evening, Ms. Blake?" Before she could answer, her phone buzzed. "GC, urgent FDA safety signal triggered. DSMB emergency meeting, 8:00 p.m. Do not stay in public. Potential possible Reggie FD exposure. Call me now." Evelyn inhaled slowly. Her thumb hovered over the reply button. This was it, the alert every biotech CEO dreads. If the CardioWave failed during trials, it wasn't just the launch that would collapse. It was everything. The stock the board's faith lives. Then it happened. A sharp yelp. A blur of motion. 2 waiters collided as a little girl darted between them chasing something unseen. A tray of soup tilted molten, steaming, about to fall. Evelyn moved instinctively. One hand caught the tray midair, the other caught the child. The room gasped. So did the girl. She looked up with wide hazel eyes, curly brown hair, a tangled halo around flushed cheeks. "My daddy's sorry. He's late," she whispered solemnly. From the entrance, a man rushed in breathless, his shirt wrinkled and streaked with what looked like flour. His shoes were soaked. His eyes searched the room until they landed on the girl, relieved, then embarrassed. Maisie." He crouched. "I'm so sorry. Are you okay?" The girl nodded, holding Evelyn's hand. Evelyn blinked down at her momentarily, forgetting the disaster brewing in her inbox. The man turned to Evelyn, sheepish. "Thank you. I stopped to help someone on the sidewalk. They fainted. I couldn't just." Evelyn raised a brow, not unkindly. "And you didn't think to call." "I did," he said. "But—" She made the reservation. Evelyn's gaze flicked back to Maisie. The girl grinned, missing a front tooth. "I saw pancakes on the menu, so I clicked book. Daddy didn't know." He laughed helpless. "I work 2 jobs. She's persistent." Evelyn took a long breath. The maitre d' still hovered. Her phone buzzed again. She had less than 20 minutes before the emergency call. GC would want her on immediately. She had no time for strangers, no time for this. But the child was still watching her, one small hand wrapped around her blazer sleeve. And something about the girl's unfiltered honesty, a rawness Evelyn hadn't touched in years, slowed her steps. "I have 17 minutes, Evelyn said finally. "Let's sit." The waiter, flustered, led them to the corner table. Evelyn typed quickly to GC calling from kitchen in 10. "Staying off floor. Will update." Then slipped the phone into her coat pocket. The man reached for a napkin to dab his shirt. "I'm Caleb, by the way. Caleb Monroe. I usually wear fewer food stains when I meet someone for the first time." Maisie giggled. "He always burns the first pancake." Evelyn's lips curved. "I'm Evelyn." Caleb didn't flinch. Didn't ask Evelyn, who didn't offer a resume or a compliment. She liked that. "So, you really stopped to help someone on the street?" He nodded. An elderly man collapsed on 5th. "I stayed until EMS arrived. Didn't think I'd be so late." "You chose to stop," she said softly, "knowing it would make you late. I wasn't raised to walk past someone who's down." The simplicity of it hit her harder than expected. Kindness without agenda. Maisie, meanwhile, was arranging her crayons. A children's menu appeared from a kind waiter who clearly understood the dynamics of small, hungry humans. "What do you do?" Caleb Evelyn asked. He hesitated. "Maintenance at the Brooklyn Library at night. Dishwashing in the afternoons. I used to be in biomedical engineering, before everything changed." She waited. "My wife passed," he said gently. "Maisie was just 2. I burned out. Couldn't look at a lab without seeing her hooked up to tubes. So I walked away. Now I fix things people throw out. And you raise her alone," she said. Best job I've ever had." Maisie beamed. Evelyn studied him. No self-pity, no performance. Just quiet clarity. "You don't know who I am." "Do you?" she asked. He blinked. "Should I—" She exhaled a sound between relief and regret. "No." After 10 minutes, Evelyn rose. "Excuse me for a moment." She walked briskly toward the kitchen, bypassing curious glances. A waiter tried to stop her. She flashed a boardroom stare, and the door swung open. Inside, fluorescent light bounced off stainless steel. Cooks chopped in rhythm. She tucked herself into the corner phone to ear. Safeline GC asked, "Kitchen. Signals clean. I have 10 minutes. Device registered anomaly in cohort 3. DSMB is reviewing. We'll need your statement tonight. Understood. Any press? Not yet. But keep your head down. And, Evelyn, don't get photographed. Copy that." She ended the call, breathing steady. Then turned. Through the glass porthole she saw Caleb helping Maisie arrange her napkin like a sailboat. And just like that, her jaw softened. Her fingers, always tense, relaxed. This wasn't supposed to matter. But it did. She returned to the table. Maisie held up a doodle on the kids' menu, 3 stick figures holding hands. "This is me. This is Daddy. This is you," she said. Evelyn's breath caught. "You drew me. You saved me," Maisie said simply. Caleb looked embarrassed. "She draws everyone she likes." Evelyn couldn't remember the last time she was in anyone's family drawing. Maybe never. Her phone buzzed again. Ear heads up, rumor sites sniffing around. "Try not to get seen tonight." Whisper of FDA delay making rounds. A flash. Evelyn's head jerked up. Across the room, someone slipped their phone back into their coat. She stood. "I have to go." Caleb nodded, surprised but not offended. "Thanks for the time." Maisie reached up and hugged Evelyn's waist. Evelyn froze, then knelt. 17 minutes, she whispered. "Thank you." Maisie whispered back, "Come next time. I'll draw you again." Evelyn walked briskly out of Bellero's coat, flaring heart faster than it should have been. The door to the kitchen had closed. But something had opened. The hum of the Bellero's kitchen wrapped around Evelyn like white noise metal motion and the faint hiss of steam. She pressed her phone to her ear, half hidden behind a tower of plates, her reflection blurred in the chrome. "Confirming this is a private line," she said quietly. Her general counsel's voice crackled through. "Confirmed. No one else can hear you. The FDA safety signal's real. One of the cardiac assist units triggered erratic pressure readings in a test patient. DSMB convenes at 8. Evelyn exhaled, gaze flicking toward the door that separated her from the dining room. "What's the preliminary risk unknown, but you'll need to avoid any off-record mention of it. Reg FD applies. We'll prepare a safe harbor statement for tomorrow if needed. Keep your head down tonight." She looked toward the tiny round window in the door. Through the glass she could see Caleb leaning across the table helping Maisie reach her straw. The little girl's laugh carried faintly even through the kitchen noise. "Copy that," Evelyn said, voice tightening. "I'll call in again after the DSMB review. Stay off the floor if anyone from the press shows up," the GC added, "and for God's sake, don't get photographed." She ended the call, dropped the phone into her bag, and drew a steadying breath. Don't get photographed. It was almost funny if she weren't living it. When she stepped back into the dining room, the noise softened. Caleb looked up immediately, his expression open, uncertain, like someone waiting to see if he'd just been stood up twice in one night. "You didn't have to come back," he said lightly. "I figured important people usually just vanish mid-dinner." Evelyn slipped into her chair. "That depends. Some dinners are harder to walk away from." He smiled, tired, crooked reel. "You sound like you've done this before." Walked away. She stirred her water, watching the ripples. "Too many times." Maisie slid her a crayon. "You can color, too." Evelyn looked down at the childish sketch of a cat in a party hat. "You think I'd make a good artist?" Maisie nodded seriously. "You already draw smiles." Caleb chuckled under his breath. She's 5, but she flirts like she's 20. Smart kid, Evelyn said softly. Then, as if remembering herself, she shifted tone. So you really left biomedical work behind? Left and locked the door, he replied. I designed vascular assist prototypes once, but when my wife got sick, every machine I built felt like a lie. I couldn't keep doing it. Evelyn's fingers stilled. That's an impossible thing to walk away from. He shrugged. Sometimes survival looks like failure until you're far enough away to see it saved you. Her throat tightened. Survival looks like failure. The words landed deeper than they should have. And you? He asked, eyes curious but kind. What's your story? You walked away from something too, didn't you? She smiled thinly. I run a company that builds medical devices. Walking away isn't exactly an option. That's not what I asked. The air between them went quiet. For the first time in years, Evelyn felt seen not as the CEO, not as the woman in headlines, but as a person who still hadn't figured out where her edges were. Maisie broke the silence. Daddy says grown-ups forget to play. Caleb looked embarrassed. She listens too well. Evelyn smiled. He's right, though. Sometimes we forget why we started. Then maybe we're both a little lost, he said softly. Her phone buzzed again, breaking the spell. A text from IR. Investor Relations Rumor Mill Heating. Keep low. Some blogger sniffing FDA delay. Reminder, avoid public chatter tonight. Evelyn slipped it away without flinching. You ever feel like every move you make is watched? He laughed quietly. I'd be flattered if anyone noticed. I mop library floors after midnight. People only see what they want to see. She looked at him for a long moment. That might be your superpower. Before he could respond, Maisie yawned. Caleb stood, gathering their things. It's late for her. Thank you again. For catching my kid and for not storming out. Evelyn rose, too. You're welcome, and for what it's worth, 17 minutes well spent. He blinked. You counted, she smiled. Of course. I'm punctual to a fault. Maisie tugged at her sleeve. Will you come read with us sometime? Daddy reads the voices funny. Evelyn's lips softened. I'll think about it. And she would. More than she meant to. Outside, rain began to fall, thin, silvery threads against the restaurant's glass facade. Evelyn paused beneath the awning, phone in hand. She typed a quick note for herself. Find out who leaked FDA flag. Secure DSMB report. No public statement until safe harbor cleared. Her reflection stared back, precise, composed, untouchable. Yet inside, something trembled. Then her screen lit up again. A new message from IR: do not allow photos tonight. Tabloid account flagged sighting at Belarus. Possible optics issue. She froze, then turned slowly toward the street. A man across the road lowered his phone camera, pretending to check messages. Another flash, faint but real, had caught her peripheral vision earlier. Her stomach dropped. Of course they'd twist this. A CEO dining with a janitor and his daughter out of context, out of proportion, it was an irresistible narrative for people who'd never met either of them. She stepped back inside just long enough to see Caleb holding Maisie's coat patient kind. For one irrational moment, she wanted to warn him, to explain how cruel the world could be with a story it didn't understand. But the words wouldn't come. Instead, she whispered something almost to herself. Some kindnesses don't survive the spotlight. Caleb turned, half smiling. Everything okay? Fine, she said too quickly. Just stay safe on your way home. He nodded, still unaware of the storm brewing around her. By the time Evelyn reached her car, the city's lights blurred through the rain. She sat behind the wheel for a long moment, fingers drumming the steering. This shouldn't matter, she told herself. He's just a man you met by accident. Focus. But when she closed her eyes, she saw the drawing again, 3 stick figures holding hands and the tiny voice saying, "You already draw smiles." The irony wasn't lost on her. Her phone rang again. GC impatient. Evelyn, are you home? The DSMB's calling in 10. I'm en route, she said, pulling out into the wet street. And John, make sure all investor channels stay dark. No comments, no leaks. Understood, he replied. But one more thing. Someone posted a blurry photo on social. It's circulating in PR chat. Her grip on the wheel tightened. Describe it. Hard to tell. Looks like you kneeling next to a child, maybe helping her up. Caption says, Tech Queen's Secret Family. Probably nothing but shut it down, she said sharply. File privacy notice. If the child's face is visible, send a formal demand under the platform's Child Protection Clause. You think it's serious. Evelyn's eyes hardened. Everything's serious when you're a woman at the top. Silence on the line. Then the GC said quietly, I'll handle it. She drove the rest of the way home without music. That night, Evelyn stood by her apartment window overlooking the city. The glow of Manhattan was softer through the drizzle. She could see her reflection in the glass again, poised immaculate, alone. On her desk lay the crayon sketch Maisie had left behind. Evelyn didn't know why she'd tucked it into her purse, but now it sat there a small rebellion against logic. 3 stick figures, holding hands. She traced one finger over the paper. For the first time in years, Evelyn Blake, the woman who built machines to keep hearts beating, felt her own skip. Evelyn didn't believe in coincidence. She believed in data patterns, behavioral algorithms. Coincidence was what people called things they didn't bother to explain. But standing in the entrance of Maple and Ink, a narrow Brooklyn bookstore with creaky floors and the smell of paper and cinnamon, she was forced to admit this wasn't logic. This was something else. It was Sunday. 3:29 p.m. She'd told herself she was just in the neighborhood, that she needed air, that the walk would clear her mind after the whirlwind of meetings and regulatory firestorms. But her phone had 12 unread emails, 2 voicemails from the general counsel, and 3 reminders about an upcoming investor call. And she was here. For some reason, Evelyn Blake had walked into a used bookstore on a rainy afternoon. And there they were. Caleb sat cross-legged on a faded leather armchair, Maisie curled against him like a sleepy cat. A picture book was open in his lap. He was doing the voices. Badly. And the dragon said, You've got spaghetti on your tail. Maisie giggled. That's not what he says, Daddy. Well, that's what he should say. Look at him, covered in noodles. Evelyn didn't mean to smile, but it happened. Quietly, dangerously. Caleb looked up then and froze. Their eyes met across the aisle. For a second, Evelyn thought he might stand apologize for something or simply fade away. But instead, he smiled. That same lopsided, unpolished smile that made it impossible to armor up. You lost, CEO, he said, voice barely loud enough to carry. Evelyn stepped closer. I told you, I'm just Evelyn. Maisie perked up. You came back, I did. She sat on the nearby bench, legs crossed. Couldn't resist the dragons and spaghetti. Maisie grabbed her hand without hesitation as if they'd known each other far longer than 2 short meetings. Evelyn blinked at the contact. No one touched her without asking. No one had dared in years. You're reading The Brave Little Disaster, Evelyn said, eyeing the book. Caleb raised a brow. You know it. I read it when I was 6. Cried for a week when the cloud got blown away. Maisie gasped. You remember that part? That's my favorite, Evelyn leaned in. Mine too. I always wondered why the grown-ups didn't try to catch her. They didn't see her, Maisie said matter-of-factly. She was too quiet. The words landed like a stone in Evelyn's chest. An hour passed. They read 3 more books, spilled a paper cup of juice, and colored a smiling sun with teeth. Caleb set his empty coffee aside. So, was this another coincidence? Evelyn glanced out the window. The rain had stopped, but the sidewalks still shimmered. I don't do coincidence. Ah, he nodded. You do strategy. I do control, she admitted softly. Because growing up I didn't have any. Caleb didn't push, just waited. My father ran a dry cleaning business, worked late. My mother, Didn't stay long. I learned early that no one was coming. I'd wait for hours, on porches, in classrooms, piano recitals with no applause. Her voice didn't crack, but it thinned. I stopped expecting people to show up. Caleb's reply was simple, steady. "So, now you leave first." Evelyn blinked. "Excuse me." "You waited 17 minutes, he said. "Not 18. She didn't answer. Maisie, oblivious, drew 3 stick figures holding hands in pink chalk on the bookstore's worn floorboards. "My family," she declared, smiling at her masterpiece. Evelyn looked down. There were 3 of them. A tall one, a little one, and one in the middle drawn in a dark blazer holding both hands. Her breath caught. Something warm and frightening bloomed beneath her ribs. It had been decades since she saw herself in anyone's idea of family. The moment was broken by a vibration in her coat pocket. PR lead. Incoming call. She stepped outside, air cooler than expected. "Yes, Evelyn, there's Buzz. A startup blog thinks you've got a personal connection with some blue-collar single dad. They're sniffing around your dinner at Bella Rose. Claims of class-bridging friendship, some even speculating it's a distraction from the FDA flag." Evelyn closed her eyes. "Tell them it's not a story. And don't confirm or deny anything. Should we get ahead of it? Craft a narrative?" "No," she snapped. "This isn't a brand. It's a child, and 2 people who deserve privacy. Evelyn, if there's press," she cut in firm, "then we don't feed it." She hung up and stared at the brick wall beside her, breathing deeply. Inside, Caleb was zipping Maisie's backpack. "You okay?" he asked, reading her face like a weather chart. "There's press circling," she said bluntly. "They think this us is a story." Caleb tensed but didn't step back. "Is it?" She hesitated. "Not to them. Just a gimmick for clicks." And to you, Evelyn looked at him. Really looked? To me, it was 17 minutes I didn't regret. Caleb considered that, then nodded. "Then, maybe we don't owe them a headline." Maisie reached for Evelyn again. "Will you come again?" "Next Sunday or Saturday, I'll try," Evelyn said. Try means maybe Maisie pouted. Maybe means no. Caleb knelt beside her. "Maisie, people like Evelyn are very busy." The little girl crossed her arms, but not too busy to be kind. Evelyn knelt too, matching the child's eye level. "Maisie, kindness doesn't need a schedule, but I'll do my best to show up." Maisie considered this, then reached into her bag and pulled out a folded napkin. It had a crayon drawing Evelyn with a crown standing beside a smiling stick figure Maisie. "For you," she said. Evelyn took it as if it were glass. "Thank you. I'll keep it." Forever, she didn't say, but meant. As they walked out, Caleb paused by the door. "You could have made this something public, a press story, feel-good distraction. But you didn't. I don't use people," she said, "especially not good ones." He gave her a long, searching look. Then he said something that would echo in her mind for days. "Good people don't need spotlights, just room to breathe." And then he turned umbrella covering Maisie, vanishing into the glimmering street. Evelyn stood in the doorway of maple and ink, hand still clutching the napkin. Her inbox was full. Her schedule was behind. Her reputation possibly in question. But none of it mattered in that moment, because for the first time in years she felt seen. And maybe seen for the right reasons. "Try not to look like you're allergic to Armani," Evelyn whispered. Caleb shifted uncomfortably, tugging at the borrowed navy blazer that fit just a little too snug across his shoulders. His shoes, polished to the best of Maisie's ability with a toothbrush, and dish soap still didn't shine like the patent leather around him. "I'm not allergic," he murmured back. "Just underdressed. And deeply aware that my cologne is probably dishwasher." Evelyn glanced sideways, suppressing a smile. The ballroom at the Aurelia MedTech Foundation Gala glittered with glass and money. Crystal chandeliers cast golden light over gowns that could pay off mortgages and tuxedos that smelled of quiet power. And there, near the back, stood Caleb Monroe, a single dad hands in his pockets, scanning the crowd like someone used to exits more than entrances. Evelyn touched his arm lightly. "You being here, it matters." He raised an eyebrow. "I thought you invited me to prove I can wear a tie." "No," she said, voice softer now. "I invited you because tonight this room needs someone who still remembers what kindness looks like without a press release." He looked down, then nodded. "Then I'm honored." The evening unfolded like clockwork. Speeches, champagne, silent auction. Evelyn did her rounds, brief conversations with board members, donors, and PR darlings who lived for photo ops. But she returned to Caleb's side between each lap like a pendulum coming home. Maisie wasn't there, Evelyn had insisted. This room has cameras, not crayons, and Caleb had agreed. Still, she noticed his hand twitch once toward his phone when he thought no one saw, probably checking if she'd brushed her teeth. At 7:50 p.m., the MC tapped the mic. The room stilled. And now he said a word from the woman whose vision fuels this company's heart CEO of Aurelia MedTech, Evelyn Blake. Applause rose like a tide. Evelyn stood at the podium posture, perfect smile calculated to exactly 83% warmth. "Thank you," she began, voice clear. "Tonight, we celebrate progress, innovation, the kind of breakthroughs that save lives not someday but today." As she spoke, her gaze skimmed the crowd and caught Caleb still by the wall, half in shadow. And yet she continued a beat slower. Sometimes the most powerful innovations come not from algorithms or machines, but from the simplest decision of all. She paused. The decision to care. Silence rippled. To care even when no one is watching. When there are no headlines, no metrics, just the quiet courage to show up, again and again. For a second, the room forgot to breathe, and then applause, scattered, then swelling. But Caleb stood still. She stepped down, heart pounding harder than it should. He met her near the hall. Was that about me? Evelyn looked at him steady. It was about everyone who does what's right when it's hard. But yes, I had your voice in my head when I wrote it. He shook his head slowly. That was more than I expected. You saved me that night, she said simply. You didn't know it, but you did. They slipped out onto the back terrace to escape the cameras. The city stretched beyond the railing, glittering and indifferent. Caleb leaned against the stone edge. I used to think saving people meant machines, devices, solutions. He glanced at her, but sometimes it just means catching a kid before she burns her hand, or reminding someone why they started building in the first place. Evelyn's voice was quiet. You think I forgot. I think maybe you've been fighting so long you stopped remembering what peace feels like. That line hit too close. Before she could reply, her phone buzzed. GC friendly reminder, Reggie FD still applies. And keep your personal life separate from product narratives. Press is sniffing harder than ever. Then another message. PR team. Small blog leaked a blurry image of you exiting Belarus with a child. Watch for follow-ups. Also, don't confirm anything on stage. Evelyn tensed. Caleb noticed. Work, she nodded, unreadable. Always. Then, just behind them, a click. A camera shutter. Faint, but unmistakable. They turned. A man slipped back into the ballroom camera, half hidden under a coat. Evelyn's pulse spiked. They got a photo of what Caleb asked. Me. You. Maybe Maisie the other night. Caleb's jaw tightened. She's 5. I know. Her voice was already steel. If they publish her face, we'll file a demand to blur it. Citing child privacy law. She's not a public figure, and I won't let them make her one. You've done this before. She looked at him. I've survived it before. Later, as the gala ended and guests dispersed into black cars and city lights, Evelyn moved swiftly toward her car. Caleb followed silent until they reached the curb. "Are you going to get in trouble because of this?" he asked. "I'm already in trouble," she said flatly. "But not because of you." "Then what?" "Because I care." She paused. "And in my world, that's riskier than not." He studied her for a long moment, then said almost gently, "Let me make this easy. What? If I'm causing noise, I'll step back. No press, no more bookstore meetings, no dinners, just clean cut. You keep your world. I keep mine." The way he said it, calm without bitterness, cut deeper than anger ever could. "Why would you do that?" she asked, throat tight. "Because if the only way to be in your life is in secret or in scandal, that's not kindness. That's hiding." She didn't answer. Caleb nodded slowly. "Take care of yourself, Evelyn." Then he turned and walked away. She didn't stop him, but in her clutch purse beneath the gala program and lip balm was a folded napkin with crayon on it. A stick figure Evelyn, wearing a crown, holding hands with a child. Back at her penthouse city below, like a blanket of scattered stars, Evelyn sat alone. Her phone buzzed again. GC morning board call may include questions about recent media rumors. Stay buttoned up. Morals clause is real. She didn't reply. Instead, she opened her purse, pulled out the napkin, and stared at it. Then, as if on instinct, she reached for a pen and wrote 2 words across the bottom. Blur everything. Because some things weren't meant for cameras. Some things were only real when no one else was watching. Monday, 1:02 p.m. The photo hit the news cycle like gasoline to a match. There it was, a blurry but unmistakable shot of Evelyn Blake, billionaire CEO of Aurelia MedTech, crouched beside a 5-year-old girl outside Belarus. The child's face was visible, eyes wide, smile crooked. And just behind them, a man in a cheap button-down shirt holding a paper bag that had clearly seen better days. The headline was predictable. Tech Queen Dating Dishwasher PR, Pity Play, or FDA Distraction. By 1:15 p.m., the photo was on 5 industry blogs. By 1:30, it had its own Reddit thread. By 2 Dazart, the stock was down 3.4%. At 2:07 p.m., Evelyn's general counsel sent a one-line message, "Get upstairs." Now, she walked into the executive war room with the kind of calm that came from decades of practice. Inside were the people who were paid to panic for her GC head of IR/PR director and a junior associate who looked like he might faint. GC didn't waste time. "We've already filed a demand to blur the child's face under federal minor privacy protection and platform policies." Evelyn nodded. Maisie's not public property. The PR director leaned forward. "The problem isn't just the kid, it's the narrative. They're spinning this as some manipulative class optics move to divert from the FDA flag, that this relationship is a calculated distraction." Evelyn's voice was ice. "So they think I'm manufacturing poverty for PR." "Essentially," the woman said. "They're calling it emotional damage control." IR chimed in. "And investors are skittish. Morals clauses are being reviewed. Some of the institutional funds are asking questions." Evelyn crossed her arms. "Let me guess. Not about the science. About who I had dinner with. Perception is risk," IR said carefully. "And this perception could trigger shareholder action if the board feels it compromises your objectivity." GC added, "And from a Reg FD standpoint, they're waiting to bait you into saying something that confirms or denies the FDA situation off the record." Evelyn didn't blink. "Then I won't speak off the record. Not to anyone." The PR director hesitated. "Evelyn." "The gala speech, it's already being dissected. They're saying the line about kindness before anyone is watching was coded. People are trying to ID the man in the photo." She said nothing. GC pulled out a folder. "The board just sent this. Emergency executive session scheduled for tomorrow night." And Evelyn what? They attached one sentence. He pushed the paper forward. Evelyn read it. "It's either him or your credibility." She sat in her office an hour later, blinds half closed against the world, heart oddly steady. Caleb hadn't called, hadn't texted. Of course not. He knew. She stared at the crayon drawing on her desk. My family still intact, but she could feel the edges fraying. A knock at the door. GC stepped in quietly. "We're finalizing the letter to the media outlets now. They'll be required to blur Maisie's face across all platforms. But the damage is already in motion. I know," she said. "I'm not going to ask if it's true." Evelyn looked up. "You don't need to. But if it is," he continued, "you need to make a decision. Either cut ties cleanly or protect it like it's your next product launch." She gave a dry laugh. "You think I can spin him like a feature set? No. I think you can either pretend it meant nothing or fight for it like it's real." That night, Caleb stood outside her building. She hadn't asked him to come. He hadn't said he would, but he was there, hair damp from the mist hands in his coat pockets, that same quiet look in his eyes. Evelyn stepped out into the soft glow of the awning. "I'm sorry," she said first. "This should never have touched you. Or Maisie." He nodded slowly. "It was a matter of time. Your world has long shadows." She sighed. "The board meets tomorrow. It's not official, but lines are being drawn. I saw the headlines. Then you know what they think. I don't care what they think." His voice was calm. "I care what you choose." She looked at him for a long moment. "You know, when we met, I thought I was doing you a favor, giving Maisie 17 quiet minutes." Caleb gave a sad smile. "Turns out you needed them more than we did." Her voice broke just a little. "And now I'm the reason your daughter's face is plastered across the internet." "No," he said gently. "You're the reason she smiled in the first place." She swallowed hard. "If I stay close, I could lose everything I've built." He nodded. "Then maybe you need to decide if it was built on the right things." Silence stretched between them. Then he stepped back. "I won't make this harder. If stepping away protects you, do it. But don't lie to yourself about what matters. Not after all this." And just like that, he was gone. The next morning, Evelyn sat at her desk before dawn, staring at the statement she was supposed to give to the board. A polished paragraph about product safety leadership responsibility and staying focused amid personal distractions. She deleted it. Instead, she opened a fresh document. Typed slowly. "In light of the DSMB's ongoing review, I recommend we voluntarily pause the soft launch for 14 days. We owe our patients not just innovation, but integrity." Then she paused, breathed, typed another line. "And to protect the privacy of all individuals unrelated to this investigation, including minors, I will not answer questions about my personal life. That boundary stands whether I remain CEO or not." She signed it, attached it, hit send. That afternoon, she pulled the copy of My Family from her desk drawer. For one moment, she considered ripping it in half. Instead, she folded it, kept it in her coat pocket, and waited for the storm. Tuesday, 7th, 28 p.m. The executive boardroom on the 42nd floor of Aurelia MedTech's Manhattan headquarters was a cathedral of glass and silence. 12 chairs, one frosted table, a view of the skyline that cost more than most people's homes. Evelyn Blake stood at the far end, back, straight, hands folded not in defense, but in defiance. The lead independent director, Richard Ellis, a man whose handshake felt like a contract, cleared his throat. "Miss Blake, thank you for joining us. This executive session is off record. No minutes, no observers. You understand why we're here?" She nodded once. "I do." GC sat 2 seats down, unreadable. Richard continued. "The media fallout has forced us to re-examine public trust in leadership. Between the FDA delay and the personal photographs, some investors are pressing for clarity. One image can shift market confidence." Evelyn didn't blink. "So can one false headline." Richard leaned forward. "You understand, Evelyn. Your image isn't just personal. As CEO, your reputation is a corporate asset. That asset now carries risk. She let the words settle, then answered, steady and deliberate. My reputation doesn't belong to the board, and neither does my integrity. A beat of silence. Very well, he said. Then let's discuss boundaries. Evelyn reached into her folder. I'm proposing a new protocol, a formal policy to separate personal life from public-facing communications, specifically a family privacy protocol. She slid copies down the table. No use of minors or non-consenting individuals in PR material, no commentary internal or external on the personal lives of team members. Any future public engagements involving children will require redaction or blur protections, especially for children like Maisie. The name hung in the air. Unacceptable, someone muttered. Necessary, Evelyn countered. I'm not asking for protection. I'm demanding a standard. Not just for me. For every employee who has ever had to explain why their child's face is on a website they didn't approve. Richard adjusted his glasses. Even with the policy, Evelyn, this man, this janitor, his proximity to you continues to raise questions. Do you still have contact with him? Evelyn hesitated. Then, Number GC glanced up but said nothing. Richard folded his hands. And will that remain the case? I don't know, Evelyn said quietly. But I do know that who I care about in private does not affect how I lead this company in public. After the meeting, she stood alone by the glass wall watching the city pulse below. She'd won herself time. Nothing more. Footsteps behind her. GC joined her quiet. You did well in there, he said. Clear. Unemotional. Just like they wanted. That wasn't for them, she murmured. That was for Maisie. He studied her. You didn't deny everything. No, she replied. I just drew a line they can't cross. He nodded slowly. But you know the press will push it. They can try, she said. They won't find anything. Caleb's already stepped away. GC hesitated. That wasn't his decision, was it? Her throat tightened. No, it was mine. He offered me a way out, and I took it. Then why do you look like you lost Evelyn didn't answer? Instead, she turned toward her office. Prepare the press release. I want to make the FDA pause public first thing tomorrow. Full safe harbor disclosure. No sugarcoating. He paused. Are you sure? Yes. She glanced back. This company was built to save lives, not save face. Wednesday, 9:00 a.m. The statement hit the wire at opening bell. Aurelia MedTech CEO Evelyn Blake announces voluntary 14-day pause on soft launch of CardioWave Assist device in response to DSMB request for further data review. Decision made in alignment with patient safety values and transparent governance. It was precise, legal, controlled. But under the surface, the markets rippled. News anchors spun it. Analysts questioned it. The stock dipped 6.1% by noon. Evelyn watched it unfold from her office coffee gone cold in her hand. The PR lead knocked lightly. We're getting questions about whether this is a delay or a red flag. Tell them it's a pause, Evelyn said, and remind them that caution isn't weakness, it's responsibility. The PR lead hesitated. There's one more thing. A new article dropped this morning. Not mainstream, but sharp. She passed over a tablet. Evelyn read silently. Aurelia's queen. Without her crown. Some are calling the CEO's recent choices admirable. Others naive. But here's the heart of it. When you lead a company that builds artificial hearts, do you get to have one of your own? She handed it back. At least they got the irony right. That evening, Evelyn sat in her apartment shoes off, hair undone. The city outside glowed like a sleeping giant. On the kitchen counter was the drawing. My family. She stared at it, then slowly tore it down the middle. She couldn't keep pretending the picture hadn't changed, that something hadn't broken. But she didn't throw it away. Instead, she taped one half Maisie's side to the fridge and folded the other half her own to fit inside her wallet. Thursday, 8:20 p.m. It had been raining for hours. One of those steady, unrelenting city rains that blurred headlights and soaked through even the best intentions. Evelyn Blake sat on the floor of her penthouse kitchen back against the cabinet eyes, staring blankly at the ceiling. She had taken off the blazer hours ago. The shoes came off after that. Then the earrings. Then everything else that made her Evelyn Blake CEO. Now she was just a woman in a too big sweatshirt, legs pulled close heart, trying to beat around a hollow it couldn't fill. Maisie's drawing half of it still clung to the fridge with a magnet. The child's stick-figure version of herself smiling under a crooked sun. And then 3 knocks. Soft, hesitant, real. Evelyn froze. No one knocked on her door unannounced, ever. She stood, slowly padded across the room, heart already knowing before her hand reached the knob. She opened the door, and there he was, Caleb Monroe. No umbrella, hair damp. A reusable grocery bag in one hand, a paper sack in the other. No coat, no explanations. Just him. And 2 items that broke her. Ramen noodles, and a battered copy of the Velveteen Rabbit. He held them up awkwardly. "I didn't come to fix anything," he said. "I just came to be here." She didn't speak, didn't need to, because suddenly she was crying, and not the strong, quiet kind. The real kind. Shoulders shaking, breath hitching, everything she had been holding back crashing at once. He stepped inside without waiting, set the bags on the counter, and folded her into his arms. No questions, no demands, no conditions. Just warmth. Just presence. Just Caleb. They didn't talk for a while. He boiled water. She handed him bowls. It felt like something sacred. Something outside of press cycles and board votes and compliance frameworks. "You still eat ramen?" she asked, voice rough from crying. "Some things don't need upgrades," he said. "Just enough heat and a little patience." She looked at him, eyes swollen but clear. That a metaphor? He shrugged. Maybe. They sat on the floor again, side by side, with 2 steaming bowls between them and the city humming below. She glanced at the bag again. Why the Velveteen Rabbit? He smiled faintly. "Maisie wanted me to bring it. She said it helps when you feel like you're coming undone." Evelyn exhaled. "She's 5. "She's 5, he echoed, "but she sees straight through people." A quiet settled. Then he said gently, "You didn't look okay on the news." She looked down. "I'm not. I know." She looked up. "And you still came. I didn't come to make it worse," he said. "Didn't come to make it better either. I came because when someone matters, you don't wait for perfect circumstances. You show up, even if all you bring is noodles and a storybook." That sentence clung to the air like incense. Evelyn whispered, "I miss her." He nodded. "She misses you too. She made me promise not to eat the CEO's pancakes until you came back." Evelyn laughed through her tears. "That kid is too much." "No," Caleb said softly. "She's just honest. We lose that when we grow up." Evelyn stirred her noodles. "Do you think I did the right thing?" "Which part stepping back? Drawing lines? Letting you go?" Caleb tilted his head. "It wasn't wrong to protect what you built. It would have been wrong to pretend it didn't hurt." Her hands tightened around the bowl. Then he added, "But it's not too late to rebuild, if you want to." She looked at him. Even with everything out there, even with the world watching. He met her gaze. The world only watches until it gets bored. But the people who matter, they wait. They hope. And sometimes, they come back with ramen. Her phone buzzed on the counter. "GCDSMB wants additional safety data. If we pause for 30 days, it'll impact the IPO spin-off timeline. And your bonus." She didn't answer it. Caleb noticed. "Trouble." She nodded. "The review board wants more data. I can fight it, or I can own it and ask for more time." He didn't push. she whispered, "If I push, pause now, I lose the spin-off timeline. Possibly the launch. Definitely my bonus. And if you don't, someone could get hurt." He didn't speak. He just reached over, took her hand, and gave it a quiet squeeze. That was the moment Evelyn knew. It wasn't about press, or power, or perception. It was about remembering who she was before the title, and choosing to be that person again. They sat on the floor until the noodles were cold and the rain slowed to a hush. Before he left, Caleb turned in the doorway. "You don't have to prove anything to me." "I know," she said, "but if you show up at the bookstore again," he added, "bring your own crayons. Maisie says you owe her a son with sunglasses." Evelyn smiled. Deal. After he was gone, Evelyn walked to the fridge. She looked at the torn drawing again, and this time she didn't just look. She pulled the other half from her wallet, the half with her own stick figure. Then, slowly, carefully, she taped the two pieces back together. Not perfect, still creased, but whole. Saturday, 10:00 a.m. The air smelled like damp earth and wildflowers, the kind of spring morning that arrived too early to be trusted, but too beautiful to resist. Brooklyn's Prospect Park stirred gently with life dogs chasing wind children laughing near the carousel, and in one quiet corner beneath a tree just beginning to bloom sat Evelyn Blake. Not in heels, not in a suit, not with bodyguards or cameras or an agenda. Just her. And beside her, on the park bench, Caleb Monroe, holding a paper coffee cup, legs stretched out as if this moment didn't have to answer to anything else. Maisie sat cross-legged on a picnic blanket at their feet, drawing suns with sunglasses and writing "My Family" in bubble letters that wobbled at the edges. "You're quiet," Caleb said gently. Evelyn nodded. "I've been thinking." He smiled slightly. "Dangerous?" She didn't laugh. "Not today." "I'm going to request a full 30-day pause," she said, eyes on the pond. "Voluntary, transparent, safety. First." Caleb didn't flinch. "What's the cost?" "My bonus, the IPO spin-off timing, maybe my seat." He took a slow sip of coffee. "And what do you get in return?" "A clean conscience." He looked at her. "Is that enough?" She finally turned toward him. "It has to be." There was a pause, long, deep, meaningful. Then Caleb said something she wouldn't forget. "The heart heals when it breaks rhythm, then finds a truer beat." Her eyes glistened, but she blinked the emotion back. "I've spent my whole career building machines that keep hearts in sync. Maybe that's been the problem." Maisie interrupted then, because 5-year-olds never wait for philosophy. "Look," she cried, holding up her drawing. "I made a schedule for today." Caleb laughed. "Of course you did." Evelyn leaned down. "What's on the list?" Maisie pointed, counting on her fingers. "Play, ice cream, read, pancakes, hug, nap, hug again." Evelyn's voice softened. "That's perfect." Maisie grinned. "You can pick which hug you want." Evelyn looked at Caleb. "Can I have both?" He looked back at her for a long moment. "We'll allow it." Later, while Maisie ran off to chase pigeons with the precision of a tiny general, Evelyn pulled a slim folder from her bag and handed it to Caleb. "Legal draft," she said. "It's the internal comms and safe harbor Q&A for the board. The language is tight neutral, no names, no allusions to personal connections." He scanned it briefly. "You're doing it." "I am. You're putting safety first." Evelyn nodded. "And setting precedent. No more hiding, no more PR spin. If we pause for 30 days, we'll gather better data, and we'll show our ethics aren't just part of a slogan." He traced the edge of the folder. "You know they might still use it against you." "They might," she agreed, "but I'd rather lose for doing the right thing than win by pretending to be someone I'm not." A gust of wind stirred her hair. She didn't fix it. Caleb leaned forward. "You've changed." Evelyn shrugged. "No, I've just remembered. Remembered what? That I don't want to be a monument." I want to be someone my team, my patients, and yes, even a 5-year-old can believe in. He smiled. Then you're already winning. She looked at him carefully. Would you believe me if I said I almost didn't send that first reply? The one where I asked to stay 17 more minutes? Yes. She blinked. Why? Because people who live behind walls forget what windows feel like. Evelyn swallowed hard. But you stayed. I didn't stay for the CEO, he said. I stayed for the woman who caught my daughter like she mattered more than headlines. Silence settled between them again. But this time it wasn't heavy. It was sacred. That night, Evelyn sat at her dining table laptop, open, finalizing the board package. The words were clean, tightly worded, legally sound. Proposal voluntary. 30-day pause of CardioWave soft launch in response to DSMB data review request. Objective collect comprehensive safety metrics and reaffirm patient-first positioning. Strategic impact delays. IPO spin-off by 1 fiscal quarter. CEO bonus metrics forfeited per clause. Justification, leadership accountability, transparency, and brand integrity in high scrutiny landscape. She added one more section, Appendix C Code of Care, a new policy proposal. Patient First Trial Governance, Family Privacy Protocol, Executive Recusal Guidelines, Independent Ethics Council Formation. She stared at the screen for a long moment. Then she typed one more sentence. Some decisions aren't about gain. They're about grace. And she hit save. The next morning, she emailed it to the board, time-stamped and complete. Then she closed the laptop and looked out over the city sun just beginning to rise, soft light spilling across rooftops. Her phone buzzed. Richard Ellis, lead director, received. We vote Tuesday. Be ready. She replied, I am. Across the river, in a one-bedroom apartment with peeling wallpaper and a Lego landmine across the floor, Caleb poured pancake batter into a skillet. Maisie danced through the kitchen in dinosaur pajamas. Is she coming today? She asked. Caleb smiled. We'll see. Maisie paused. I think she will. Why? Because she remembered what Maisie grinned, that we saved her too. Tuesday, 9. 0 a.m. The boardroom was colder than usual, not in temperature, but in tone. 12 seats, 11 filled. Evelyn Blake stood at the head of the table. No slides, no polish, just a leather folder and the kind of calm that didn't come from confidence but from clarity. She looked each board member in the eye. Richard Ellis sat in his usual place, expression unreadable. GC was present, arms folded, watching closely. PR and IR were dialed in via video, muted, but tense. Evelyn began. I appreciate your time, she said. This won't be long, and I won't pitch you. A few eyebrows rose. I'm not here to spin a pause as a breakthrough, or to frame personal restraint as corporate brilliance. I'm here to do something most CEOs are trained to avoid. She paused. Let it breathe. I'm here to choose people over optics. Silence. She continued. The voluntary 30-day pause was my recommendation. Not because the product is broken, but because the trust between a company and the public doesn't survive shortcuts. We claim to put safety first. I'm making sure we mean it. She slid a slim packet down the table. The Code of Care is included in your binders. 4 key proposals. 1. Honor the DSMB's Safety First recommendation. 2. Enact the Family Privacy Protocol permanently. 3. Establish executive recusal for any grants or affiliations involving personal relationships. 4. Form an independent ethics council to oversee communications during all future clinical trials. Richard tapped his pen. You realize this sets a precedent. I do, Evelyn replied. A good one. A board member leaned forward. And your bonus, I'm forfeiting it. Publicly, voluntarily. We don't get to profit from uncertainty. Richard steepled his fingers. And your relationship with this Janitor Private Evelyn said simply. But to protect the board and remove any appearance of conflict, I've already committed to recusal from any decisions involving the community programs where he works." Another pause. Richard flipped the top page of the binder. "Some members would prefer a cleaner route." "Meaning a full separation," he said bluntly. "Terminate, distance, let the market cool, then repackage and relaunch." Evelyn met his gaze. "If that's what you want, a CEO who makes decisions based on headlines and hedge funds, I'm not your woman." Someone inhaled sharply. She pressed on. "I've led this company through 3 product approvals, 2 FDA audits, and 1 global recall with 0 ethical flags. My record speaks. But if that's not enough anymore, then let's stop pretending." She looked down the table. "If the price of leadership is silence, I won't pay it." Richard looked around. "We'll vote." A beat of stillness. Then all those in favor of Proposal 1, 30-day pause, hands raised. 7. Then 8. Proposal 2, Family Privacy Protocol. A few hesitated, then slowly unanimous. Proposal 3, Executive Recusal Policy, mixed murmurs, but in the end passed 6-5. Proposal 4, Independent Ethics Council unanimous. Then he cleared his throat, and now, final motion. Shall Evelyn Blake remain as CEO under the new governance and code of care? The room tensed. One hand raised, then another, and another. 7, 8, 9, 10. Richards stayed down. He looked at her. "You've got the votes, but not by much." Evelyn nodded. "That's all I need." Outside the boardroom, she didn't celebrate. She didn't cry. She simply walked to the end of the hallway, pulled out her phone, and texted one line. Code of care passed. 10-2. "I'm still here." No reply, but she knew he'd read it. Later that day, headlines shifted. Aurelia MedTech chooses integrity, CEO Blake wins. Vote with safety. First leadership, from scandal to standard code of care, redefines corporate ethics in biotech. No bonus, no excuses. CEO sacrifices millions to prioritize patient trust stocks once sliding leveled. Then ticked up 2%. Evelyn didn't look at the market. She looked at her inbox. One email stood out. From Richard Ellis, subject respect. "Evelyn, I disagreed with you. Still do in part. But today, you reminded us what it means to lead without flinching. You didn't win us all, but you earned us back. R." That night, she took a cab downtown. Not to a gala, not to a shareholder dinner. To the community library on Myrtle and 3rd. Lights off, doors closed. But she knew the routine. Tucked behind the back entrance through the staff hallway, a janitor's cart leaned against the wall. The same one she'd seen him push the night they met. And on the corkboard, just above a flyer for Storytime Thursdays, was a new page. Maisie's corner opening Sunday at 9:30 a.m. She smiled, then froze. Taped just below was a note in careful child handwriting, CEO Pancake Promise, don't forget. 11:30. Her eyes stung. She didn't wipe the tears, just whispered to the empty hall. 17 minutes changed everything. And for the first time in a long time, Evelyn Blake walked home without looking over her shoulder. Sunday, 9:30 a.m. It was the soft kind of morning that felt like a secret warm sun weaving through low branches, the air rich with the scent of books and fresh paint. The community library on Myrtle and 3rd had never been so full. Not with noise, not with cameras, just something quieter, fuller, realer. A hand-painted sign above the east wing entrance read, Maisie's Corner in honor of quiet kindness. The words were simple, the meaning not. Inside, a small reading nook had been transformed. Floor cushions in every color, bookshelves built low for small hands, a mural of a tree with paper leaves where children could write their own stories. No press, no photographers, no logos, just a quiet laminated placard on the wall funded by a private donor-advised gift. Children's privacy protected. No photos permitted. Evelyn stood at the entrance heart, thudding like it was her first day of school. No security detail. No team. Just her. She spotted Caleb near the back setting out 2 cartons of juice. His shirt was rolled at the sleeves, a Band-Aid on his knuckle. His eyes lifted as if he'd known exactly when she'd walk in. "Hey," he said. "Hey," she replied. Maisie barreled into view before either could say more, wearing glitter shoes and a dinosaur backpack. "You came. I said I would." "Did you bring crayons?" Evelyn reached into her bag and pulled out a brand-new tin. Maisie squealed and took off running. Caleb looked at the tin, then at her. "That's a lot of crayons." Evelyn smirked. "Well, I owe her a son with sunglasses." He chuckled, then turned serious. "I didn't expect you to come." "Yes, you did," she said quietly. Caleb's voice lowered. "So, what happens now?" Evelyn looked around the room. Parents reading to their kids. Volunteers smiling. Peace. Then she looked at him. "What happens now," she said, "is I stop pretending my life only fits in one world." He blinked. "You sure I've never been surer." She stepped closer, and before you say it, she added, "This has nothing to do with optics. This space isn't branded. No press. No product tie-in. Just a corner for stories to matter." Caleb's voice dropped. "You matter, Evelyn. Not the CEO. You." I'm starting to believe that she whispered. A woman with graying hair stepped over a child balanced on one hip. "Excuse me, are you Miss Blake?" Evelyn smiled. "Yes." The woman hesitated. "I just wanted to say, thank you. My son's been too shy to read out loud in school, but this place he's been practicing all week to read here." For the first time, Evelyn's throat tightened. "He's braver than most adults I know." The woman beamed. He just needed someone to believe he was worth the space. When she walked away, Evelyn whispered, "That was the first time no one asked me about stock prices." Caleb nodded. "Feels good, doesn't it?" She looked at him. "Feels true." Later, they sat side by side on a bench just outside the Reading Nook's sun, dappling through the trees overhead. Inside, a volunteer was reading The Velveteen Rabbit. Evelyn listened as the reader's voice echoed the familiar lines, "You become." "It takes a long time. That's why it doesn't happen often to people who break easily." She closed her eyes. "That book hits different now." Caleb's voice was quiet. "Yeah, it's not about the rabbit, it's about all of us." She turned to him. "I'm not afraid of breaking anymore. I'm afraid of not changing." He studied her. "You already have." Then a small tug at her coat. Maisie, holding a folded napkin. "For you," she said. "Open it later." Evelyn took it, heart already swelling. "I have one more thing to do," Maisie announced grandly. "It's almost pancake time." 11:30 a.m. The community kitchen behind the library smelled like vanilla and melted butter. A few volunteers bustled around the griddle. Evelyn stood in the corner watching Caleb flip pancakes with the calm precision of a man who'd done it 1,000 times. Maisie was at the table, setting out plates. When Evelyn stepped forward, Caleb looked up. "You ready?" She nodded. He handed her the spatula. "Then, let's make it official." She laughed. "Not the proposal I pictured." He smiled. "No rings, no flash." She raised an eyebrow. "What then?" He stepped closer. "Just this," he said, voice low. "You. Me. A kitchen. A little girl who believes in second chances. And pancakes." Evelyn held the spatula up like a toast. "That's the most honest vow I've ever heard." Maisie chimed in from across the room. "Can we say it's forever now?" Caleb looked at Evelyn. She looked back. Then whispered, "It already is." Later, after the batter ran out and laughter faded into tired contentment, Evelyn sat in the quiet kitchen staring at the napkin Maisie had given her. She unfolded it, 3 stick figures holding hands. But this time, something was different. The son wore sunglasses. The little house had a heart on the door. and in the corner, written in careful block letters, "No more broken pieces." Evelyn traced the words with her thumb. Outside through the window, Caleb was cleaning up. Maisie twirled with her arms outstretched, chasing the wind. And for once, Evelyn didn't feel like she was catching up to her life. She was standing in it, right in the center of it, exactly where she belonged. Sunday, 11:30 a.m. The kitchen was quiet now, save for the soft pop of cooling batter on the griddle and the rhythmic clink of forks against ceramic. Pancakes had been flipped, eaten, and forgotten in the way good food always is, swept up in laughter, not ceremony. Maisie was curled up in a beanbag nearby, one arm around a stuffed dinosaur, the other still sticky from syrup. Her eyes fluttered closed her curls a halo of exhaustion and joy. Evelyn stood by the sink sleeves rolled up drying a plate. She could have left it to the volunteers, but something about this simplicity grounded her. Behind her, Caleb leaned against the doorway, arms crossed, watching her like he still couldn't quite believe she was real. "You know," he said, "this is the quietest Sunday I've had in 5 years." Evelyn glanced at him smiling. Is that a compliment or a cry for help? He walked toward her, closing the distance with the confidence of someone who'd stopped asking permission. "It's gratitude," he said, "for everything loud in my life that finally found a way to settle." She handed him a clean dish. "I never thought it would look like this." Caleb took the plate, dried it, then paused. "And what did you think it would look like? Contracts. Control. Clarity." She leaned back against the counter. "Turns out none of those mean anything without crayons and syrup fingerprints." He nodded, serious. "Turns out pancakes last longer than power." Evelyn looked at him. "I was never chasing power." "I know," he said. "You were chasing peace. But peace doesn't come with a board vote or a bonus check." She whispered, "No. It comes with 17 minutes. The sun filtered through the kitchen window, now casting soft shadows across the table. Evelyn walked over to it, running her hand across the worn wood. "You didn't bring a ring," she said. Caleb's voice was warm behind her. "No. Thought I'd start with something we both believed in." She turned. He held up the spatula, the same one she'd used to flip pancakes less than an hour ago. "Not a diamond," he said, "but it got us here." Evelyn's eyes filled with something deeper than tears. "You're asking me to stay." "No," he said gently. "I'm asking if I can stay. Not just for Maisie, not just for Sunday mornings, for everything, for the Mondays and the mess, for the moments when the world doesn't clap, for the quiet kind of forever." She took the spatula, held it between them like a fragile oath, then whispered, "You already did. That night with the ramen, you stayed. I just needed time to catch up." They stood like that for a long moment, no witnesses, no audience. Just two people who had been broken open and had chosen piece by piece to rebuild. Then Evelyn laughed softly. "You know, if someone told me a janitor with a chocolate bar and a children's book would rebuild my life, I would have had them escorted out of the building." Caleb grinned. "If someone told me a billionaire would cry over instant noodles, I would have asked what brand." Their laughter lingered. Maisie stirred, then blinking. "Did I miss it?" Evelyn knelt beside her. "Miss what, sweetheart?" "The forever part," she mumbled, still half asleep. Evelyn looked at Caleb. He nodded. She turned back to the little girl. "No. You were here for all of it. You're the reason it started." Maisie sat up, rubbing her eyes. "So, do we still get pancakes every Sunday?" Caleb lifted her gently. "Every Sunday. Every forever." Maisie leaned her head on his shoulder. Even if she's a CEO, Evelyn kissed the girl's forehead. Even then. Especially then. That afternoon, Evelyn walked them home hand in hand. No cameras, no headlines, just sunlight and footsteps and belonging. Outside Caleb's apartment, Maisie tugged at Evelyn's sleeve. "Can I draw on the sidewalk?" Evelyn nodded. "Go ahead." Maisie grabbed her chalk and began scribbling. Caleb unlocked the door, paused. "You coming in?" Evelyn looked at the steps, the threshold, the shift. Then she smiled. "I'm already home." As they disappeared inside, the sun caught the sidewalk chalk just right. 3 stick figures, again, but this time they weren't just holding hands. They cast long shadows, together, unbroken. And in the library window across the street, taped neatly behind the glass, a piece of paper fluttered in the breeze. Code of care signed. Dated. Real, no fanfare, just a promise. To lead with integrity, to choose what matters, to stay. Sometimes it's not the grand gestures that change a life, but the quiet ones. A bowl of ramen, a child's drawing, a hand that chooses to stay. This story reminds us that no one is too important to be kind, and no moment too small to begin again. Have you ever witnessed a quiet act of kindness that changed everything? Or maybe you were that person for someone else. We'd love to hear your story in the comments below. No matter how big or small your experience could inspire someone who needs it most today. And while you're here, let us know where in the world are you watching from. It's always amazing to see how far these stories travel and how deeply they connect us across oceans, cultures, and generations. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you never miss another story like this, the kind that makes us feel remember and hope. Thank you for spending time with us today. Until next time, take care, be kind, and never underestimate the power of staying.